I feel like I have a pretty good IQ, to the game, and felt like, that was one way that I could get in my foot in the door was to, lean on that and lean on, just knowing the game of basketball, and that's what he does.
The first thing I noticed, it's kind of funny, we always talk about this, he didn't play like a white boy. It was very different. His wiggle was very different.
Austin Reaves did not walk into that Mind the Game interview sounding like a guy who got lucky. He sounded like somebody who had been preparing for this version of his life long before anybody else believed it was possible. And that is exactly why this conversation with LeBron James and Steve Nash hits harder than people expected.
My agents, Reggie back there, they set up a plan, and the plan was, we knew LA had a two-way open on draft night, and knew it was a situation to where, I could possibly step in.
Because the biggest shock from the interview is not that Austin went undrafted. It is that he and his team basically chose the pain of going undrafted because they believed the Lakers' path gave him the best chance to actually become a real NBA player. That changes the whole way you look at his story. Most players dream about hearing their name called on draft night, and that is the emotional payoff. Austin flat out admitted that yes, it sucked not hearing his name. Of course it did. That is every kid's dream. But he and his agents had a plan, and that plan mattered more than the ceremony. They knew the Lakers had a two-way opening.
His wiggle was very different. I mean, I grew up in Northeast Ohio, so I know white guys playing like white guys and white guys playing like the brothers. And what I could see in his game is that he had a lot of wiggle to his game. And that was one of the things that, quite frankly, we were missing.
This is where young players usually make a mistake. They confuse getting selected with getting developed. Austin did not. He understood that if the goal was to stay in the league, not just touch it for 5 minutes, then fit mattered more than pride. And when he explained why the Lakers were the place, it was not some emotional speech about the lights or the brand or LeBron. He said the analytics his agents looked at had the Lakers near the top, maybe even the best fit, with Milwaukee and another team also in that highest tier. That tells you this was deeper than Hollywood or hype. They were thinking about basketball ecosystem, roster openings, usage opportunity, and how his style could translate. This is where it gets dangerous, because once you realize Austin was this intentional, the whole "he just surprised people" narrative starts falling apart. He did not stumble into the NBA. He read the board better than the league did.
After the fact, and I went back and watched a lot of his Wichita State highlights and games, and then a lot of his Oklahoma highlights and games as well.
And then LeBron's side of the interview made that even more interesting. LeBron admitted he had never really seen Austin play before the Lakers signed him. That right there tells you how low the mainstream radar was. But once LeBron went back and watched Wichita State and Oklahoma clips, he immediately saw something different. And the way he described it was funny, blunt, and honestly revealing. He said Austin did not play like a typical white player. He said the wiggle was different. He said the shiftiness was different. He could see right away that Austin had the ability to crack seams, get into the paint, and bring something the Lakers were missing. That's a huge quote because it was not just praise. It was LeBron identifying an actual skill gap on the roster and recognizing that Austin filled it. Here's the part nobody is talking about. LeBron was not praising Austin because he is a nice story. He was praising him because he saw functional NBA value immediately. He saw someone who could solve a real problem. That is why he said once training camp started, he made it a point to get on Austin early, to push belief into him, to make him understand that he belonged. That is not casual encouragement. That is a superstar noticing a useful player before everybody else catches up. And when a guy like LeBron starts feeding you belief from day one, that is not just confidence fuel. That is access. That is a shortcut into the trust circle that most rookies never get near. Austin basically confirmed that too, especially when he talked about that Vegas minicamp before he was even officially under contract.
I didn't play AAU, but I played 1 year AAU.
Exposure.
Yeah, I think that was the main thing. And then you look at, you look at me now and you're still like, you can't play basketball. But you looked at me then, I was 6'5", probably 165, super skinny. And that was a lot of the feedback we got from coaches was he's not big enough, he's not strong enough, he's not athletic enough. But they make weights for a reason, so I don't.
That minicamp story says everything about the way this thing started to flip. Austin almost didn't even go because one of his friends back home was getting married that weekend. Then he gets the invite, knows he cannot say no, and ends up in a gym with LeBron and Anthony Davis. Then comes the moment. They're playing, Austin gets downhill, thinks he has a layup, AD comes flying over, and Austin throws a late behind the back pass for the dunk. And from that point on, the message was simple. You were good, just be yourself. That is massive, because for an undrafted player, the first instinct is usually to shrink. Don't mess up, don't do too much, try to fit in quietly. Austin got the exact opposite message from stars. Be yourself, stay loose, don't fake it. That gave him room to actually show his game instead of hiding it. This is where it gets dangerous, because once a player with Austin's IQ gets real trust, everything speeds up. He talked a lot in the interview about how much of basketball is confidence and IQ, and the more he spoke, the more obvious it became that this is the core of his entire career. He knows he's not the fastest, he knows he's not the most explosive, he knows he doesn't pass the classic lottery prospect look test. But what he also knows is that if you understand the game, if you can read defenders, manipulate angles, stay calm, and keep confidence, then you can erase a lot of physical disadvantages. That is one of the strongest themes from the whole episode. Austin is basically a walking argument against lazy talent evaluation. And you can trace that mentality all the way back to his childhood. His family was a basketball family. Both parents played in college. His brother played too, but he didn't come up on some polished elite development pipeline. He came from Newark, Arkansas, a tiny town, and baseball was actually the sport a lot of people thought made more sense for him. His dad literally told him around 7th grade that he needed to choose between baseball and basketball if he wanted his schooling paid for. At the time, Austin was tiny, around 5 feet tall and 95 pounds, playing shortstop and pitching a little. By all logic, baseball looked safer, but after moving up 2 grades at a basketball camp and cooking with his brother, Austin decided basketball was the route. His dad called him stupid, then backed him anyway. That little exchange tells you a lot. Even the people closest to him didn't naturally see NBA upside. Austin had to hold that vision himself before the world could see it. Here's the part nobody is talking about. His brother might be the most important figure in the entire Austin Reaves story. Austin said it himself. His brother is probably the biggest basketball influence in his life. This was not some soft, motivational older brother story. This was tough love, dragging him to the gym at night when he didn't feel like going, beating him badly in one-on-one, telling him over and over that because he came from a town of 1,000 people, he would have to do more than everybody else. Later, when Austin was at Oklahoma, his brother sat him down and told him something brutally honest. If you want to play overseas, you're already good enough. You can go make money right now. But if you want the NBA, you have to do more. And Austin's answer was simple, so I did more. That line right there basically sums up his entire rise. This is where young players usually make a mistake. They hear criticism as disrespect instead of direction. Austin seems to hear it as fuel. That probably comes from the way he grew up. He said he never got handed wins. His brother beat him. His parents didn't let him win at cards or video games or anything. There was no pity, no fake confidence. So he learned to hate losing more than he loved winning. That's a powerful mindset because it makes you comfortable with frustration. It makes work normal. It makes proving people wrong feel natural. He even told that funny story about finally beating his brother in one-on-one at around 12 years old and running into the house screaming because it meant that much. That is not just a cute memory. That is the origin of the obsession.
Once you start being on opposing teams' depth chart of like
scout,
we got Luka, AR, me. We got to take this away. If we can't give him no air space, we can't give him no I could see the talent there, but also saw the knowledge of the game and the willingness to want to work.
And when the conversation shifted to college, it got even more revealing. Austin admitted he did not even think he would play Division I basketball at first. He thought Division II with his brother was more realistic. Why? No AAU exposure, skinny body, not enough athletic pop. Same feedback over and over, not strong enough, not athletic enough, not big enough. That is exactly the kind of profile NBA teams routinely overthink. But Austin's response was perfect. They make weights for a reason. In other words, physical development can change. Skill, feel, and competitive wiring are harder to teach. And that is where his story becomes bigger than just one interview. It becomes a direct challenge to the way basketball culture still judges players too quickly by how they look instead of how they think. LeBron clearly understands that too, and that is why his comments on talent recognition matter so much. He said it does not take him long to recognize talent, but what really grabs him is IQ. Everybody in the NBA is talented. The 15th man has talent. The two-way guy has talent. The rookie has talent. But the guys who know how to play, those are the ones he gravitates toward fastest. That is one of the most important lines in the whole interview because it explains why LeBron connected with Austin so early. He was not falling for some novelty. He was seeing a player who processed the game like a veteran, a player who could survive in spaces where pure athleticism does not save you, a player who could manipulate defenders, punish mistakes, and understand timing. That is why LeBron went from watching clips to pushing him in camp to trusting him in real minutes. This is where it gets dangerous, because once Austin started getting real reps, the confidence became production. He said the first true welcome to the NBA moment came with opening night against Golden State when he got his first ever DNP at any level. He had never experienced that before. Think about that. First time in his life he's just sitting there, not playing. Then Game 2 against Phoenix, the Lakers are getting blown out, he gets thrown in, they make a run, and after that he basically starts building his place in the rotation. That matters because it shows the gap between external perception and internal belief. Even after the DNP, he still thought he belonged. He didn't spiral, he didn't treat it like proof that he was in over his head. He took the opportunity when it came and started flipping the script. And the veterans around him helped shape that process in a major way. Austin talked about leaning on LeBron and AD, but also Melo, Russ, and especially Rajon Rondo. That part of the interview was gold because you can hear how much Austin values information. He said he's the question asker. He literally told Rondo that if he asked too many questions, Rondo could tell him to shut up, but he kept asking anyway. Every situation in practice, every read, every decision, Austin wanted to know what Rondo saw. That's exactly why his growth happened so fast. He was not just trying to survive possessions, he was downloading the game from elite minds. Here's the part nobody's talking about. A lot of players want minutes, but not all of them want answers. Austin wanted both. Then the interview moved into the fun stuff, and honestly, that's where you start to understand why his game is so annoying to guard. When they got into his playmaking, the behind-the-back dribble, the improvisation, the foul drawing, the changing directions on one foot, it stopped sounding like underdog talk and started sounding like elite craft talk. LeBron and Nash both kept coming back to the same idea: rim pressure. Austin is always thinking about how to get defenders uncomfortable. He's not dribbling with a pre-planned sequence like a robot. He reads the first reaction, then improvises from there. If the gap opens, he attacks. If it closes, he resets. If the big shifts, he throws the pass. If the defender reaches, he uses the low pickup or the rip-through to force hesitation. That is real offensive intelligence. This is where young players usually make a mistake. They think scoring is about winning the highlight instead of winning the possession. Austin does not play like that. He talked about how he loves creativity, loves expression, loves breaking his man down and finding a solution once he gets into the guts of the defense. That's why his game looks weird to some people. It doesn't always look clean or predictable, it looks improvised. But that's exactly what makes it hard to scout. He even said there is no predetermined move when he's attacking. He reads, reacts, and figures it out live. That is why LeBron said he's one of the tougher guys to guard, because you can't just watch film and say he always does this next. Sometimes even he doesn't know the second move until he sees how you bite on the first one. And that connects directly to his foul drawing and finishing. LeBron made a huge point about Austin's ability to create contact without being some monster athlete. He beats defenders to the point of contact, bumps them off balance, uses timing, pivots, shot fakes, step-throughs, and all the stuff that looks subtle until you realize it's killing your defense. Austin explained that too. He said, if I bump you while your foot is in the air, it's almost impossible for most defenders to stay balanced. That's basketball math. He learned how to use his body because he spent so long being smaller and weaker than everybody else. So, once he finally got stronger, all that old problem solving became even more effective. This is where it gets dangerous, because that kind of craft ages well. That's not a skill set built only for one hot season. That is a toolbox. Even the clutch section of the interview told you who he is mentally. Austin straight up admitted he always wants the big moment. He doesn't want anybody else carrying the blame if a game is lost. He wants the ball, the shot, the responsibility. And he described those moments almost like chaos slows down for him. Everybody else panics, but he gets calmer. That's a rare trait. He said in the Minnesota game earlier in the season, after the Lakers nearly blew it, he was walking to half court thinking they'd look like idiots if they lost, then immediately told himself they would win. That's not fake bravado, that's internal control. Same thing with the Dallas rookie year game winner. He was standing in the corner convinced he wouldn't even touch the ball, but still knew that if it found him, it was going in. That level of calm confidence is hard to teach.
Here's the part nobody is talking about. This whole interview was also quietly about legacy. Not Austin's final legacy yet, because that story is still being written, but the kind of player he is becoming in relation to LeBron's basketball worldview. LeBron and Nash clearly see Austin as more than a feel-good role player. They were talking about him like a serious thinker of the game, a creator, a pressure point, a player who wins with timing and skill. And when LeBron says opposing scouting reports now have to treat Austin as one of the main problems to solve, that tells you everything. You do not accidentally become that guy on a team with LeBron and Luka. You have to earn it possession by possession. And maybe that is the biggest takeaway from the entire Mind the Game episode. Austin Reaves is not just a guy who made it because he worked hard. That is too basic. He made it because he saw the game clearly before other people saw him clearly. He trusted a plan when public validation would have been easier. He listened to hard truths instead of soft praise. He learned from stars without acting starstruck. He turned being underestimated into a skill development strategy. And now he sits in a conversation with LeBron James and Steve Nash sounding completely at home, because in his mind, this was always where he was headed. So now the real debate starts. Because if Austin Reaves was this overlooked coming in, if his game is this scalable, if LeBron already saw star-level processing in him early, and if he keeps growing as a scorer, playmaker, and clutch option, then what exactly is his ceiling? Is he still just one of the best value stories in the league, or are people still underrating what he can actually become? This is where it gets dangerous, because once a player who already beats the odds starts mastering the details, the conversation changes from how did he get here to how far can he really go? And that is the question nobody can dodge anymore. Was Austin Reaves just a smart, undrafted success story? Or are we watching the league realize way too late that they let a real star slip through their hands?